All right, welcome to episode 217 of my live stream. I can't believe I've been doing this for like 217 things. But so today I'm going to be working on comics. So people who've been kind of enjoying my Risk content, I might have a little bit of that on breaks from working on my page, but we're at a point where I can work on page 68 of Not Death But Love, the strange supernatural story of Elizabeth Barrett Browning, which is a graphic novel I'm working on for Turner Publishing, written by Lavender Vroman. That's a historical fiction story that kind of explores the biography of Elizabeth Barrett Browning and Robert Browning and Elizabeth's interest in spiritualism and seances and all sorts of cool stuff in Victorian England. That's actually very accurate to the history. Frank Salazar is joining us in the chat saying, hello, Josh. Hello, Frank. How's it going? Congrats on getting that anthology together or starting the anthology project with Adam. I'm really excited to kind of see how that goes. Anybody who's curious about that, check out Adam Lore's channel. They have a really good conversation, Frank and Adam, about potentially trying to put together another Hundreds anthology, which I fully support. I wouldn't be able to participate because I have a crazy deadline for Turner Publishing, but I fully support it. And I think for anybody out there who hasn't kind of dipped their toes in the anthologies, you guys should look into that. Also, I'm really happy to hear about the reviving of the 100 Days of Making Comics community. I think that it's a necessity, and I think Frank is the guy to run it because Frank is a community guy. And so I'm very excited about that. If you're tuning into this for the first time, I'm Joshua Kemble. I'm an illustrator and graphic designer. I've been doing that for about 20 years. And I've been doing art direction for over 6, I think going on 7 years now. And when I'm not art directing or working on graphic novels, or working on graphic design, I'm working on graphic novels that are books like Two Stories and Jacob's Apartment, which I will play trailers for, but they're available in bookstores everywhere. Those are both books that I wrote and illustrated, both over 100 pages. And so, yeah, I usually do my pitch at the beginning, but I think I'll let the commercials throughout this. I have like a bunch of little testimonials and commercials for those books, and I think I'll let them do the selling for me, so I'm not like overloading you guys, and also so we can get to work on comics. So today, what I'm going to try to do is tone the first panel of page 68. And then maybe if I get through that panel, depending on how long that takes, we might play a game of Risk and then kind of take a break. But I'll probably be streaming on and off all day because it's Saturday. And what does a cartoonist do on a Saturday but cartooning? So, other than playing Risk. So anyhow, for those of you just joining and stuff like that, make sure you're subscribed. You've hit the bell so you get notifications when we're about to go live. Frank said I need to get Jacob's Apartment. You know what? It's a really good time to get Jacob's Apartment, especially from Amazon. I noticed I think they only have like 13 copies left in stock. They're going to be reordering, but I did notice recently it seems like it's on sale. So you might be able to get it for a cheaper price on Amazon. I usually would encourage you to go to your local bookstore or library, but I also feel like you should take advantage of being able to save money when you can. I'm sympathetic to consumers, and like I feel like, hey, if you can save $5, go for it. So yeah, anyhow, so that's how you could get Jacob's Apartment. All right. So with all of that being said, I will also say I really enjoyed listening to Gary Hodges' stream this morning, and I'll talk a little bit about it. I was being a bit of goofball in the chats while I was working on this comic, but I really appreciate Gary doing those streams. One of the things I like about our community, and I hope my streams kind of do this for you guys as well, is it's great to listen to my friends who are creatives kind of working on their stuff and talking about creativity and stuff like that in our community on stream. Like, it's just so fun to have this little group of people, like, that we're all kind of working progressively towards mutual goals of being creative, making cool stuff. And it's just fun to have that in the background when you're working on stuff. And I know his stream this morning kind of got me through, this page. So the rest of this page, which I was in dire need of kind of catching up on. So this is an interesting page. We've had basically on the previous pages, Elizabeth Barrett Browning was working on poetry at Casa Guidi. They'd just gotten back from seance at the Holmes residence, or not a seance, like a party, a party sequence that was crazy. It was in a library and there were tons of books. It was really annoying to color fill, but at the same time, it was an interesting sequence. And as she's working on stuff, we see a skeleton kind of appear behind her, and then we find out that it's Robert's skeleton. That Robert, instead of working on his next poems, he's actually picked up a skeleton to use for reference for art. And so Elizabeth has told him to kind of take the skeleton out and kind of called him on it. Been like, shouldn't you be working on poetry? And he kind of sulkingly, oh my goodness, I don't know what I just did there. I think I accidentally hit anyhow, I don't think that affected the screen. It affected my screen. I hit like a shortcut that I have not turned off on my Wacom. Anyhow, so he starts sulking out of the room, kind of like, fine, you don't want my skeleton. That's fine. I'll just leave. And then we have this really fun page that I'm really excited. Didi is doing a shout out to my goofiness on the last stream. I was intentionally just disagreeing with whatever was said by Corey, by my friend Corey Kerr, or by Gary. I just was intentionally disagreeing. And Didi said, coming in just to disagree with Josh. I disagree as well, Didi. I disagree entirely. So I was intentionally disagreeing with anything anyone said because I think they were having a conversation. I can't remember what kicked it off, but I think it was like Corey talking about not liking getting in online disagreements. And I was like, I disagree with that. And then it just kicked off from there. Anyhow, so if you guys want to watch a really fun stream, and plus it's pretty cool, Jim Lujan talks a little bit, gives a little bit of a tease for the animation that he's working on currently. And I'm a big fan and friend of Jim Lujan, so I encourage you guys to check out Gary's stream from this morning. Plus, Gary's almost done with his latest D versus M issue, and that's pretty cool. Anyhow, so we're on this point in this panel where Robert sulked off with his skeleton. And now we see that Robert is not sulking off. He actually opts to do a dance with the skeleton and crack up his wife. And so that's kind of this sequence. And then Wilson, who we haven't seen for pages, Wilson the maid, is going to walk in on this and just be like, what the hell is going on here? So that's what we're going to tone. My goal for this stream is just to get through the tones on this more complicated first panel that shows Robert kind of waltzing throughout their Casa Guidi living room. And then we'll kind of see where we get from there. How is everybody doing? How is your creative day? We've got a few people watching live, and I'd love to hear what creative stuff you guys are working on. I'm feeling invigorated from this morning, and I am also, as you guys know from the last few streams, I've really been enjoying this kind of quest to try to become a grand master at Risk, and I'm excited to have that as like a little bit of, to me, that's like the carrot that's gonna, when you have like the old meme of like leading a donkey like forward with like a dangling carrot, right? They have the incentive, right? Like it gives the animal incentive to like move forward. Well, I'm doing that. I'm putting my carrot, and my carrot is a game of Risk if I can finish this first panel. So I'm using that as incentive. And then, yeah, Frank was saying, yeah, Jacob's apartment is $15.99, which $15.59, which is actually a really good deal for Jacob's apartment. Again, it's a full color book, right? Full color, 128 pages, beautifully printed, offset printed. This isn't a print on demand book, you guys. This is a saddle stitched, like it is actually stitched. I shouldn't say saddle stitched. It's not saddle stitched because it's staples. It's actually like sewn. So the signatures are sewn. Like it's a beautiful soft cover book. This is like a legitimate. It's probably the most beautifully printed book I've put out. And Graphic Mundi did a great job on that. But yeah, like $15 for that. That's a steal. So yeah, this would be a really good time to pick that up. You might also be able to find like used copies elsewhere. So keep your eyes out, but that's the best deal I've seen on it. If you see a better deal, let me know and I'll share it with my audience in case they've been kind of on the fence about picking it up. And now let's get into toning this book. And then let me know what you guys are working on. Dee Dee is in the chats as well. Dee Dee's always working on creative stuff. So Dee Dee, I'd be curious to hear what you're working on. And full disclosure, part of why I went over the story was I know that Dee Dee is really interested in the actual story that I'm working on right now. She's actually helped a little bit with the historical research for it. And so I figure you'd probably want to be in on the loop of what Robert is doing on this page so we can kind of follow the story along. All right. And anybody who's kind of curious to see sneak peeks before I kind of get into this too, on Instagram, I need to do, I think I'm caught up, but I usually show like a sneak peek of one panel, one finished panel from each page. But if you really want the insider scoop on this story, watching these streams is definitely going to kind of help you see this story as it progresses along, and hopefully help maybe people either have some background when they're being creative, or if you're a beginner and you want to kind of learn a little bit about one way of making comics. Hopefully this will be an enlightening experience for you as well. But anyhow, I gotta say it was a lot of fun this morning, and I do encourage you guys to check out Gary's stream this morning. It was a really good one. Sometimes not so good. This time, good. No, I'm just kidding. Gary's streams are always awesome. All right, so we have I'm also kind of curious, Frank, like what the progress on the anthology is, and if you want to kind of mention it. Frank was saying, will Jacob's Apartment get me a date with my atheist neighbor? 100% will. It's like it is a matchmaking book. Now, will it be the most exciting date? No, it'll probably be a very depressing date because it's not a happy book. It's a tragedy, you guys. Well, it's not really a tragedy. It's just like a slice of life book about kind of a failed young love, like that first love kind of story, which I think actually is a worthwhile story to tell because I think a lot of us have been through experiences of that, like that first massive crush or that first massive attempt to have a relationship. We got Philip Chandler in the chat saying, well, howdy. And then Frank said, buying 13 copies of Jacob's Apartment now. Hey, if you want to buy 13 copies and give them to people as presents, I would appreciate that. I think that's good to hear. And then Philip said, I'm about to go live myself. Cool, Philip. Let people know where they can check that out. And Dee Dee said, I watched a lot of your stream recording, Philip, with Adam, Frank, and Terry. So I want to know, Frank, if you can kind of let people know more about. Actually, you know what, Frank? If you're down, I can invite you on and you can kind of tell people more about the anthology and what you and Adam are kind of planning if you want. But if you want to just let them know in the chats, that's fine too. Just let me know. I'll send you a link if you want to kind of wanted to let people on. I'd also say, Philip, if you haven't started your stream, if you want to hop on and hang out for a little bit while I tone this page, let me know and I can invite you on as well. And then Philip said, LOL, thanks, Dee Dee. That was kind of impromptu and was just chatting. And then Frank was saying, I have 2 pages of my story done. I was working on a character sheet yesterday. That's awesome. I believe Frank is working on a story about a dragon in space, a space dragon, which is pretty rad. Oh, and Frank said he's down. So let me invite Frank in. Let's see here. Send Frank a thing. Frank a thing. Here you go, Frank. Frankly, I want to see you on the stream. How often do you hear that joke, Frank? Where like somebody asks, like you ask somebody their opinion, and they're like, "Well, frankly," because I hear the just joshing you joke all the time. Like, and it's and the person's self amusement when they say, "I'm just joshing you," is amazing because you're like, that is the absolute first time I've ever heard that. No one has ever made that joke before. But I was curious, Frank, how often you hear like, to be frank. Okay. So we're going to kind of start toning this page. I'm going to start with the characters. My light source that I am imagining is going to be kind of coming from here. So that's what I'm thinking. And this is just going to take a while. And then when Frank hops on, you know, we'll kind of make that happen. Yeah, it's been an interesting an interesting week because this page particularly was really hard to work out the logistics of. I've talked about this before, but I like doing things in comics that only comics can do. And there are specific pages in this where I am trying to implement something that only comics can do. And this is definitely one of those pages where this top sequence, that is a very unique to comics kind of scenario where you're seeing a bunch of different actions in one location. I mean, you could technically try to do that in film, but it would look a little weird. It's a very unique to comics thing, and I'm always looking for opportunities to kind of have a unique to comics moment. And then Frank also said I think Frank said, well, I was trying to line up a joke there, Frank. I thought you would say, to be frank, I hear it very often, but yes, he did say he hears the Frank joke very often. And speaking of Frank and frankness, here is Frank Salazar of Salazar Art Nation. How's it going, Frank?
It's going good.
Nice.
Going.
Nice. How do you want to kind of it was really neat to kind of hear you and Adam like spitballing, coming up with ideas for an anthology, and I was wondering if you might want to just kind of run through what that's all about and stuff, so people, especially people who might want to be in an anthology, can kind of hear about it and all that fun stuff.
Sure. So we're doing this anthology called The Ultimate Tales in Galactic Fantasy. Ultimate Tales of Galactic Fantasy. The like main, I guess, book name or like thing is like Ultimate Tales, but our theme is Galactic Fantasy. And so what we're doing is, you know, and it can be a minimum of one page. You can even do a pinup if you just want you know, your art in there. And you know, it's, you know, the theme is, you know, just think like Star Wars, Planet of the Apes, Dune, you know, fantasy, whether it, you know, otherworldly, yeah. And you know,
Nice.
and anyone can join in. I mean, the age is, I think we're going with like 15 and up. Yeah. And we're aiming for 100 days. So we're using the 100 days of making comics challenge to get our stories done, and you know, get the anthology moving. Get, you know, get eyeballs on it, and then just working behind the scenes to, you know, see how we can get this in people's hands. And we're thinking of crowdfunding.
Oh, awesome.
So I am thinking about, and I'm like, I think Adam said the CE, no, not CEO, the
EIC, the editor in chief, right?
editor in chief. Yes, EIC. So you know, you kind of run things.
I can't think of a better person to run an anthology than you, Frank. You're a really good like community builder, and I think you can really facilitate like people's creativity. And I also think you have a real vast interest in kind of like being as inclusive as possible with like who you're gonna let in and like um and stuff like that. So I think it's gonna be really fun to see how that turns out. I really wish I could do it honestly, but it's just, there's no way with a 200 and whatever page book that I gotta get done. But
yeah.
it sounds so fun and cool, and also the theme reminds me a lot of like pulp comics. You know, like old school. There are so many great kind of like epic space fantasies that were done in like the old pulps, and if I had the free time, that's exactly the angle I would take. Is like I'd probably do something with like a painted pulp cover, where you've got like people with old school space helmets, but you know, maybe like more, you know, taking the over the top like lightning and wizards and like wizard vans. I would probably do something utilizing maybe a wizard van space vehicle.
Yeah.
It would be amazing, but it would be fun to work on. So I'm just throwing this out there for people. If you're kind of curious to like stretch your muscles, or let's say you're like a cartoonist, you like maybe you found yourself stagnating lately. You want to see a finished product, but like you need a goal. This is a goal. This is something you can do, and then it'll be a part of something. It'll be printed. And I think and also Frank is just a super good guy to work with. He's the the mod for this channel for a reason. Like Frank is a community guy. So support it and check it out. And I guess where can people like I guess it was on Adam's channel where you guys did like a more kind of thorough discussion of
We did two discussions. We did one on my channel, one on his channel. So you can check out either or both.
No, just ditch Adams and just see Frank's, because Frank's on this channel now. So support Frank. I'm just kidding. Yeah, you can check out either Adam Lore or Frank Salazar Art Nation on YouTube, and both will have in-depth discussions about this. I'm excited about it because the hundreds was such a tight community for a long time. And I got kind of dragged into it by Kevin because I'm pretty good friends with Kevin, and he was like, dude, you're kind of doing this challenge every day anyway, so you ought to just start. In fact, Kevin kind of encouraged me to first do YouTube because at the time I was just kind of like, I'm kind of a boomer when it comes to social media, and he was like, dude, there's a whole community out there that you could be hanging out with, and like you're doing the work anyway. Just turn on a camera and just start doing the work and say it's the 100 days. And I was like, okay, I guess I will. And then I was introduced to this beautiful community, but it has since kind of dissipated, fractured, and kind of split off into like different things. And some of that's just time. Like I think some people you see this in comics a lot, where comics are really hard work, right? Like comics are a commitment and kind of a lifestyle, and sometimes people get really into the lifestyle for like a year or two, and then they go, crap, this is eating away all my time. Like I need to switch what I'm doing with my life. And you see this in comics a lot, where people will be really like, they'll be like 120% invested in comics, and then a year later they're like, I'm never touching a comic again because this has ruined my life. But so some of it's that, and then some of it was just internal drama that's inevitably going to happen with like communities and groups of people. Didi actually, and Philip kind of pointed out, I think we have a lot of crossing of streams right now, because I think Philip is running a stream. I think Corey just went live with a stream.
Yeah, I just saw that right now too.
Yeah, so I'm gonna like I'm kind of excited to see what that. To me, I'm really excited because that just means more content for later today, because my goal here is just tone this panel, play a game of Risk, and then probably just get back to toning panels. But I'll be streaming on and off all day. But what a crazy day. It's kind of fun to have a community that is so actively kind of making this stuff. But yeah, so what are you working on for? You're working on. How much can you share of like what you're working on for the anthology yourself? Like
I
for your
can
own.
share the main concept. So I had this idea for a story for a while. I was actually going to submit this to a different anthology from a group that I used to be in, uh, but I put that in the back burner and I was working on my own stuff, and then later got into Captain Goggles. But I had this drawing I did of one of the characters. It wasn't even like the main character, but I had made a dragon type uh, uh, you know the character. It was kind of like I was trying to decide whether to make him humanoid or just four legs, and Anna, she got my designs and just put them over together and like just do this and like, oh, okay, whatever. so uh and I developed a little story where his backstory, he's a warrior. So the main story I wanted to do is this like this planet where like a lot of people it's gladiator themed. So like, but all the contestants are like aliens from different worlds that get trapped there. Some of them are there, because they want to, but some are just end up getting there either by accident, and they're kind of kept there. So it's kind of like was it a Planet Hulk? So a little bit of that. That was a little bit of my inspiration. But I
Yeah, like
wanted
a little bit like Thor. What was it? The second or third Thor movie or whatever.
yeah, Thor Ragnarok. So there's a little bit of that, but I wanted everyone to be well, not everyone, but like most people to be animals. So I wanted to have a fantasy element where someone's fighting a dragon. So like, oh, one of the warriors can be a dragon, and I was still debating on having my main character uh, be human.
Mm-hmm.
That way he can face off a dragon, and also having a lion character. And so it has a slight undertone of a biblical narrative. So like,
Okay.
and so like, not entirety, but like so my humanoid character would be like Daniel and the lions.
Got it. Yeah.
And in the Apocrypha version, he also has an encounter with a dragon. so, so a little bit of those elements. So the story that I'm working on, I decided it would be um, interesting to have the dragon character kind of tell how he got there. So this story is gonna work as a flashback.
Nice.
So he was a ship's captain and ends up on this planet. So I'm writing the story where he's already in space, but he's gonna end up in this planet. So it's probably gonna be maybe 4 to 8 pages, and then I can store that and use it for the bigger story that I want to do and have it in there. But it will be in the this one will be in the anthology. So I'm just working on some characters. I came up with a crow character that is an ensign on the ship. So he might just be there in the background. Um, but I thought it would be awesome to when they get to the planet, he ends up betraying or maybe joining forces, because they're kind of like forced to be on there, so it's not by their own volition. So
okay.
So maybe the ensign ends up working for the main person in charge. So he's just like a little servant there. So I had him wearing like this toga, because I was going for Roman and Greek, and so like
Nice.
I wanted I wanted the nobles and the people higher up to be wearing togas,
I like it.
and so
Oh, shout
so
out
that
to
way.
Jim. He said he's working on his animation while he's watching this. And he actually said, animating along with you. Well, you're not animating, but you know what I mean. So, and also, speaking of just shout outs and stuff, so this morning on Gary Hodges' stream, Jim gave some little drops about his next animation. So I encourage you guys to check that out. So, okay. So you're doing this kind of theme. Sorry, Frank, for like kind of cutting you off there. So you're doing this theme of like there it's gonna kind of have like a Roman kind of almost like class system you're kind of setting up.
Yeah,
That's pretty interesting.
yeah. So I'm just kind of setting up. I wasn't sure with this one how much I wanted to show, but I think, you know what, it'll be good to have, because I didn't want to just be like it's just a crash and well, that it's a short story.
Yeah.
But it's gonna get there pretty quickly. So having a little bit there, or so you might see the dragon get in a few scuffles, but he's not gonna be a main character, but he's gonna be one of the characters. Like he's not gonna be the main star, but he's gonna be one of them.
I like it. I feel like we need to get Adam. We need to convince Adam to do like a soundtrack for the anthology that's like just ridiculous, like hairband metal. Like I
Cool.
think that has to happen. I think he needs to do a live stream performance of like what is a space high fantasy space band? It's like a glam metal shreddy, just ridiculous sound that just I think that Adam needs to do. That's all I'm saying. No pressure if Adam's watching this, but Adam definitely needs to make a space epic fantasy soundtrack.
If we do a trailer promoting it, like having that there.
Yes, 100%. I think so. But yeah, but I'm excited about it. So if people like wanted to kind of do this or contribute to it, they should probably reach out to you, right?
Yes, myself or Adam. We do have a Facebook group, the Ultimate Tales Anthology. It's a private group, but you can join, and we'll let you in and ask questions. We encourage questions. Ask them publicly. Post what you're doing. I started posting some of my things in there. We also have a Discord group, but that not that many people use it, but we do have people who joined. So I'm trying to be active in both. But yeah, and it's the only I think the only two rules I have is pretty much no, not safe for work stuff. So no nudity, and just swearing. I mean, you can use like maybe some light swears, but like try to keep it to minimum. Like heavy,
so like
heavy
PG-13 at max, right?
I'm thinking at least PG. I know Adam was saying that I was going more for G, but I really just depends. I mean, once you actually start writing it and seeing it, and I look at the pages, then I can tell you, well, can you change this, or this is good, this is fine.
Yeah,
I don't want to make.
But you're looking for a comic that you could comfortably. Let's say you're at a convention, right, and an adorable little kid comes up and wants to check out your book. This isn't going to be like a Joshua Kemble at a convention where I'm like, this isn't for you. Like, you might want to kind of like keep going down the table, because like I don't want like a 5-year-old reading 2 stories or something. But this is more like the book you want to be able to confidently give to that kid and be like, hey, check it out. This is a really cool project,
Yeah, family friendly. I don't mind action. I don't mind violence. I mean, gore, obviously, not that, but like, because that's just that's just exciting. But family friendly, not necessarily Bible stories, even though like I'm implementing some of it. But it's something I can give to tell a kid, hey, check this out. Whether
To be
it's a
honest,
trash can, whether
probably
it's
probably
down.
more censored than Bible stories, right? Because Bible stories can get pretty saucy, violent, and sexual. I'm just
Yes,
saying.
yeah. Like, I'm not talking about like TBN, type of stories, just or even some of
Gotcha.
those. But hey, just something I don't have to like make excuses like, oh yeah, you should get this. Oh, you know what, party? Maybe not. Don't read this one.
You're like, this
Or
book is for you except for story number 3, which you should just skip past because it's not age appropriate. You don't want to be in that scenario.
yeah, that's what I want to avoid. So like,
Yeah.
so
Oh, we
so
got
if
Ronnie joining
you wanna
us.
put cuss words, fine. I'm just gonna go in there and get a black bar and.
So Frank is gonna be the guy editing, like, have you guys ever seen the made for TV version of RoboCop? Where
I'm
like they just
thinking.
edit every bad word to be like frigging frag frogs, and you're like, whoa, that's crazy. But it was kind of I almost prefer the TV edit to the original
Yeah, like
because they got so
what's that
creative with the fake
one?
bad words.
Die Hard also had some creative uh bad words, censored words. I think it was a yippee ki so it was like, what was the TV one? Yippee ki They said something. This was like totally nonsensical, and it was just hilarious. I don't even remember it.
Mother trucker, something like that. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Trucking truck is a really good word to edit in there. So Gary said, I don't know what's been talked about so far, but I disagree with Josh. He's bringing the disagreement from his stream to my stream. And you guys, as you know, my stream is not a place for disagreement. It's a place for coming together, not like the contentious Hodges streams where people just go to war and debate. That never happens on my channel. That always happens on Gary's channel. This is the community. We all hold hands and get along channel.
Just like
Wouldn't
the
you agree,
anthology.
Frank? Yeah,
Yes.
for sure. I feel like I've never had any sort of contentious debate on this channel at all. I think it's always people just coming together, holding hands. That's awesome. Gary said after they wrapped their stream, Mary told him that she's also a huge fan of Duchamp. And I non-ironically really like Marcel Duchamp. I think so Frank, Marcel Duchamp did this he's like, I don't know if you're familiar, but it's like he's this artist. He's the guy who did the urinal that has like a signature on it and it's in art museums.
Oh, him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he signed it like R Mutt.
Oh wait, no.
But anyhow, like, so he signed it like R Mutt, and it was like in the, like kind of World War II era where like pre-World War II, a lot of the there was this whole movement called Dada where it was these artists that were kind of like trolls, and they had a manifesto too that they wrote. And the manifesto, if you read it, is pretty much them saying like the art world has gotten so absurd, people can't even figure out definitions of things. And it's gotten so ridiculous that I could literally put a toilet in a museum, and just because it's signed and dated, it'll be priceless. And he did it, and it did become priceless and gallery showed in museums because he was right. I love the Dadaists because they're like the trolls of the art world, the OG trolls, where they were like, look, things that like people are playing with definitions so much, we're gonna literally just make a piece that's like it's like messing with like is this a chair because it says the word chair? Is it a chair because it's a picture of a chair? Or is it a chair if it's a picture of something else but it says chair? And it's like we're just gonna mess with people, mess with definitions, and the art world's gonna embrace us and accept it because it's so absurd right now. And they did, and I love Duchamp. I love it. I don't like Jeff Koons and guys like that are just like pretty much stock trading millionaires who are like, I can pay somebody $1 billion to make an art piece that'll be worth $2 billion. That to me is kind of boring. But the Dadaists, I just absolutely love them. And Gary's got a good point here. What is good really though? That's kind of their whole thing. Anyhow, so I love the Dadaists, but that was brought up on Gary's stream earlier, and I think there was kind of a disdain expressed about the urinal, and I'm like, I actually absolutely think that's one of my favorite things in art history, the urinal, and I love that again, like part of his whole thing with making that, he was like, I'm not even going to sign it with my name, and it's not even going to be a real date. Like, that's how stupid galleries and museums are nowadays, that like it doesn't even have to be the artist's signature or a real date. You can just sign something and just put it in the context of a museum, and people are just going to be like, oh, that must be valuable. It's I don't know, I love it. Anyhow, sorry.
I thought it would fly here. I'd try that.
I gotta give them credit. It's like, and I love that they commit to it too. It's not like they actually like really make it like everything the Dadaists do. They'll like make a really nice pedestal, or they'll make like everything's like displayed as if it has value, but it just mocks the display in general. It's kind of like if you just frame like I don't know, you frame a piece of poop or something, and but the frame's really ornate. The plaque looks really official. It's like, it's gotta be art, right? I love that. I don't know. I love that. That attitude's great. I feel like it's kind of carried on a little bit with a lot of like more modern like street artists. I think are kind of doing the same types of things, where they're just messing with the borders and the boundaries of things. I think that's important for art. You need the guy who's going to do an album that's just feedback. I don't know. I love
like Banksy, or like he says like history was not meant for galleries, so he made something specifically you could put in a gallery, and when they sold it, it turned into a shredder, and it got shredded.
That's one of my favorite Banksies. It was like at Sotheby's auction, they had like a piece that like once it was auctioned off would just shred itself, which I think is hilarious. My other favorite stuff by him is where he'll just walk into an art gallery, and he's made this like really official looking like display, and he just walks in with like a construction guy outfit and just hangs the piece on the wall, puts a plaque under it, and leaves, and it's up. I think one of them in like the Museum of Natural History or something stayed up for like a year. Like no one noticed for a year that there was like this display that he had just put up in a museum, because they're like, well, it's in the museum. It has a plaque and a date. It must be meant to be here. I love that stuff. I don't know. I like stuff that makes fun of the high art world, but I don't know. Anyhow, I want to see Frank and Adam be able to successfully do this. Like Frank, I think we've talked to you for a while. Wait, what?
I thought you meant go into an art gallery, hang up our stuff, and just walk away.
No, I was just kind of switching back to the anthology, but it's like I think I think Scott and I have talked to you about how you really do have a gift for kind of like community and like sort of building community and building relationships with communities. And I feel like there's just, I think Jeff mentioned this too on his stream, but it's like, there really is nobody better in our community to like put together an anthology than Frank. Like Frank is the guy to do it. Like, I don't know. I feel like it's going to be pretty cool. And I like what you guys are talking about so far with it,
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Part of why, because I've been wanting to do anthology, and I was already planning on doing one. It was just been like my own, but I was planning on reaching out to people. And Adam wanted to do an anthology, but he is really like, he really loved the V100s community, so he wanted to kind of like take on that, and was like, okay, well, let's see if we can. But yeah, that's something we can do. We decided we're not gonna label it V100s, because I think there's just like a lot of different legal issues, and I mean, you know what? And I want to do this. I don't want to hold back anything that we're doing. That's why I haven't really been talking about it because I'm like I don't know where we stand on that. You know what? But I talked to Andrew like you know what? Let's just go with it's Ultimate Tales, and that's everything, and and
yeah, and I mean nobody needs permission to do an anthology. You
yes,
just like anyone out there today could like put together an anthology, and then it's just a matter of like how well you can organize and rally people and kind of rally people to hit deadlines and like assemble the
yes,
book and stuff like that. But I think that's the right approach. It's like it doesn't have to be the hundreds for it to be a lot of the people from the original hundreds
yes.
group.
It's still in that same spirit that we're doing it within the 100 days of Making Comics Challenge, and so there's a lot of overlap uh, with different anthologies that we've been in, and a lot of them are the 100s people, and and it's like, hey, what? Let's see who's interested, and let's do this. So one thing I mentioned this, I think I don't think it was on the streams we did, but I was on a stream with Phil Chandler the other night, and I was just there. But something that
Philip
what I
Chandler,
want to do
who's streaming
is
now,
an
and I want to give people a shout out. Philip Chandler is doing a stream right now, so like even if you're watching this, make sure you check out what Philip's doing after at least, because Philip's awesome. Anyhow, sorry, go ahead, Frank.
so one thing that I want to do kind of like an EC style is having a character kind of like introduce the stories or just like welcome,
like a crypt keeper, a crypt
yeah,
creeper.
yeah, like a crypt keeper or like what was the other one? It was like a witch.
Yeah,
and and I think Vampirella, that's how she started. She was part of an anthology, and she was like the creep keeper type of character. Uh, so like hey, you know what? So something like that, just more space age, fantasy. So like, hey, come on, kids, let's check out this new world.
I like
Yeah,
it. Like your own little Rod Serling to introduce the bits where you can be
yeah,
like, this is, welcome to the Twilight Zone. This story is about
yeah.
this, Yeah.
We're gonna
I think that
sit
should
down for
be,
some
I feel like if
ultimate
Scott
tales.
yeah, if Scott participates, I feel like it should be like Scott as Vincent Price. Like if you guys did a live action version, you need Scott's Vincent Price to be like, yes, that was an interesting story, and now we will switch to a different area of high fantasy, that kind of thing. But yeah, I love it. That's great, and it's fun to see you guys taking action on it because a lot of the time, um, I've noticed this in graphic design too. Like back when I used to do T-shirts, every once in a while you come up with this idea and you'd be like, man, somebody should do that as a T-shirt, And like the best designs were the ones where you're like, nobody's done it. Well, I guess I got to do it, And I think a lot of the time creatives, including us, need to feel more empowered when you have a moment where you're like, man, whatever happened to that hundreds anthology? Like somebody should do this. To just kind of step up and be like, you know what, nobody's doing it, we're gonna do it. Like I think that's a very like proactive and smart way to kind of do things. As a creative, because otherwise you end up in a scenario where you're just waiting for someone else to do it, and maybe they'll
Yeah,
do it, maybe they won't do it as well as you, maybe they do it better than you, but maybe they're just delaying and they're not going to do it. So again, just by doing it, it's like at least it's doing it's better than like sitting back and being like, man, I can't wait for somebody else to kind of take the lead on this. Like, I don't know if that makes
yes.
sense. I think
No,
you
no,
guys are making
it
the right
totally
call.
makes sense. And that was again with the waiting for permission.
Yeah.
And like we haven't heard back from this person. Um, I don't know where they are. We don't really need permission. But I did talk over with Adam, and we talked about it, and we're like, yeah, you know what, it's better to just so the anthology can move on, and then maybe later down the road, like we're like, hey, yeah, it's fine if you use it. Like, okay, then maybe for the next one, but if not, still, hey, we're still doing our own thing. So like,
yeah, and I think the beauty of it is you don't like that only became a thing because people were doing it, and like
yes,
you can make your own thing. I think that's a really good thing for people to realize. Like, one of the reasons I don't like participate in a lot of the challenge stuff online, right, is because like sure I could do like an inking challenge for like a month or something, but that's somebody else's challenge, and like does it fit my vision for what I'm trying to do? Like, and if it doesn't, like, well, I'm here doing my own thing. So like sure, if it fits in with what I'm already doing, great, but like you can kind of start your own thing, which I think is really cool. So I think the idea of you guys just being like, well, we can do an anthology. It's not like we need to, you know, it's not like you need to
yeah,
get a sign off for somebody to do an anthology and reach out to people and see if they want to be a part of it. That's actually just how anthologies go, So yeah, I'm excited about that. I think it's cool. It's going to
thank
be
you.
interesting to see you do a non-Captain Courage or Captain Goggles comic. That's interesting.
Yeah,
It's going to be
yeah.
fun to see.
I was it? Oh yeah, like it was here where I mentioned it, where I wanted to do a kind of like a Western take on a maybe like a relative of Captain Goggles. So like
Mm-hmm.
so
It's
uh
almost like Snoopy's cousin.
well I do have like
Snoopy
a
had that.
couple of yeah, Spike. Oh no,
Yeah.
it was his brother Spike in the desert,
Mm-hmm.
which he had his own movie that was kind of like Roger Rabbit, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, where it was a live action, but he was animated. It was a
Oh,
weird.
really?
Yeah, yeah, it was a TV movie. I think they only aired one. I just happened to have caught it on TV. I think it was the girl in the red truck.
Uh-huh.
So it's Spike in the desert, and I think he's like in a real desert, but he's a cartoon, and he's just like hitchhiking, and this girl picks him up, and like they go on adventures or something. Like they go on this trip.
I need to see this. I feel like it sounds like it's weird because it sounds really familiar. So I wonder if that's something I'd see and be like, oh yeah, I remember this, because
Oh,
it is
maybe
like
like
stoking, yeah, some
yeah.
memories,
It's kind of like an old like not western, but like that western film, something like maybe like Roadhouse, something like that. But it's just like Snoopy is in there. I mean, that's Snoopy Spikes in there, and like because I think they want to play off like oh, maybe she's a love interest. Well, she's a human, and I think there is like a jealous boyfriend.
Oh
Or
wow! So
something.
does Spike have like a "I'm not bad, I'm just drawn this way" kind of moment, or it doesn't go that far?
No, no, he's just Spike from the comics and cartoons, and he's not really like. I don't think he even talks, but it's just like you see hearts and stuff like that.
That's
And
amazing. I
but
love it.
yeah, I like it. Like I want to kind of see it and to see how it holds up. It might be just cheesy, but like just the fact that they did something like that is
Yeah,
like okay, that's interesting. Interesting take.
that's hilarious. Okay, well, I'm gonna disappear for a minute. We're about at the hour mark, so I'm gonna play a trailer. I think for this one, since we were talking about Philip, I think this is this Philip's trailer? I think this is Philip's trailer. So I'll put in Philip's trailer for Jacob's apartment and two stories, and then I'll be right back. Frank, feel free to stick around because I'm gonna be working probably for another like 30 minutes or so if you want to.
Okay.
Cool. And so we'll be right back. So here, bear with us. This is a trailer for Jacob's Apartment.
Hi, my name's Chris and I like comics.
I think.
I want to talk about this comic for a second here. I just got this in. I ordered it direct from my local comic shop through Diamond Distributing. It's Joshua Kemble's Jacob's Apartment. I really enjoyed this book.
Oh, it's Christopher.
Hold on a second. That was the wrong one. I thought it was the right one. It was the wrong one. I think, is this it?
Hi, my name is Phil Chandler. I'm a freelance artist, illustrator, and cartoonist. Today, though, however, I want to tell you about a graphic novel I picked up recently called Jacob's Apartment. This book was both written and beautifully illustrated by Joshua Kemble. It is the story of a doomed romance that causes the main character to question his beliefs and his faith, while he's also going through other tragedies in his life. Every page has been illustrated by hand and digitally colored with painstaking detail. It is an emotional story that causes you to think and even question things in your own life. And while the story is a tragedy, it is one that I was completely entertained by and I highly recommend. You can currently find this on Amazon or even check in with your local bookstore and see if you can order it. And while you're at it, you can also check out my Instagram at Phil Chandler Arts and also my YouTube channel by the same name, Phil Chandler Arts. And go buy Jacob's Apartment.
All right, sweet. That was really cool. Thanks to Philip for doing that. And I think the earlier one was a very brief snippet of Christopher's, which was really cool too. And if you guys are watching this and you want to have kind of almost like a free ad for you on my channel, I often at the hour mark will take a break and play something that's kind of hawking my wares. Like it'll talk about Jacob's Apartment or two stories. And then you can mention anything you want about your stuff as well, as long as it fits the TOS of YouTube and it's not like super offensive. I will play those as segments to try to keep it under a minute. But if anybody wants to put together their own kind of review or take on Jacob's Apartment or two stories that's kind of crafted as a video that I can play in about a minute and then mention their own stuff as well. It's like a little cross-promotional thing, and it does me a favor, too, because it gives variety to the people watching this, so they aren't just seeing me promote my own stuff. So anyhow, that's a cool option out there for people if you want to put one of those together. And we're joined by Frank Salazar of Salazar Art Nation, and he's talking about the anthology that him and Adam are kind of like masterminds, like kind of trying to get together. Do you want to kind of talk a little bit about the hundreds anthologies and what those were initially and kind of like the sort of thing you guys are trying to bring back and maybe even improve upon?
Oh, yes. So the 100, I think it was the 100s was the group doing the 100s and Making Comics Challenge, and they had decided to do an anthology. Now, I wasn't around for that. Adam was, so he has a heart for those, at least for the first anthology. I don't think he was in the second one, because the first one had the first appearance of Ted, his character of Toad Comics. And I checked out when I came in. I think it was like the second one was being made, and people were promoting it, talking about it. I think he had just finished the crowdfunding, so people were already like getting books. But I was able to get books off other people, other creators. I got the second anthology first, and then I got the first one. And looking at the first one, I was seeing like, wow, there's like some really good things here. Like it had pinups, and it had like some really interesting bios and like a questionnaire, like that each creator was being asked. Like, wow, this is cool. Like, and at that time I was in a different anthology, and that was something that I was thinking like, oh, why don't we implement something like this? I had my falling out with them, and later when Adam and I were discussing it, and just some of the things, he had his opinions on some of the
By the way, the falling out,
so-
for those of who aren't familiar, it's that Frank was just too much of a handsome artist, and they were like, we can't look, we're not handsome artists here. We can't have like this handsome artist like in our anthology. It's just making us all look unhandsome. You know, I think that was the falling out. Am I recapping that correctly?
I think so. And I would come in, and I had Fabio hair back then. I was just going,
Yeah, every
what are
time
you all
Frank would,
working on? And
yeah,
I'd be showing off
they'd
my
have like a
chest.
Discord discussion, and every time Frank would come in, it would just go to slow motion for some reason while his hair just quaffed in the wind. And yeah,
And I was in my apartment. I don't know how there was wind, but get that wind
Yeah.
machine. I always keep nearby.
the fan that you just turn on. You're like, hey guys, you did the Little Mermaid, like, woof. I'm like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, Frank has done the Little Mermaid song, and so the Little Mermaid like hair thing was like, wow, this is a little much, Frank. It's a little much. Or, look at Ariel in all her glory.
Yeah. How could I not emulate such a beauty?
Yeah, this is true.
Of fantasy beauty.
Yeah.
Why don't we do an anthology with fantasy in
I like-
space?
I like segue. Good segue.
Right.
A bad
and from there
segue is a mall cop, and a good segue is Frank Salazar. I'm here all night, guys. So I'm stoked about it.
We wanted to, kind of improve on it. There was like things that we talked about that from the 100s and from the anthology I was in. I was like, it would have been cool if we had done this, or this is good. It's something we can implement if we ever do our own thing. And this is, and there's like a lot of like talented people also there. So Adam really wanted to like tap into those, and like, well, I mean, if you know them better than I do, so reach them out, and so we'll see who. There have been people that showed interest, so we'll see who joins in. But yeah, he had a story, and I think he might have is changing. He's doing a newer story. I wanted to do something spacey, and I had that story, and like, well, you know what? We're just talking, and like, let's do this.
Yeah, I think Philip's doing like a space themed story as well. So
Yeah.
it kind of, I don't know, it like lends itself to at least a project that like three of you guys are already working on,
Yes. So, and Landon Huber is doing a pinup.
Nice. So Landon's on board. That's good. That's good to hear. I like it. I think it's going to be fun to see the whole thing kind of come together, And again, like, I want to support it in whatever way I can. Crazy deadline. Don't think I'll be able to contribute art, but I'll at least, shout you guys out a lot because
Sure.
the community kind of needs something like this. And also, it like, again, like anybody who was in the hundreds who finds themselves in a position where, like, I think the big benefit of the hundreds in doing that challenge, which, I guess maybe we should explain because like a lot of people might have come onto this channel at this point. It used to be like a no brainer, like everybody's heard of the hundreds, but I guess we should probably recap it for people who didn't. So it's a challenge my buddy Kevin started. And the premise of it was Kevin was at a point in his life where he was finding himself unable to kind of work on his own personal projects. And he was finding that he was just doing a lot of stuff for like clients and, just kind of chasing the money and not quite ever being able to make time for his own personal projects. And I think he had a very frustrating experience with like a client doing a graphic novel. And he was just like, I don't know, there's a lot of stuff where he was just like, man, this sucks. I keep making stuff for other people and not really making the time to make my own stuff. And how do I do that on top of like being a parent and like, all of this other stuff? And he was like, you know what I'll do? Like, I think I'm going to commit to doing comics for at least 30 minutes every day. And I think he got inspired by like, there were people who had like videos about like working out or like jogging or doing something that's good for them that they've had trouble kind of building a habit to do, and just doing it for 30 minutes minimum every day, no excuses. And so he started that as a 100 days of making comics challenge. He kind of invited people like, hey, if you guys are interested in kind of joining along, here's how it'll work. You just spend 100 days, no excuses, 30 minutes a day. You have to work on your art, on your comic project or whatever. And it built this whole community of people who found it really beneficial. I think a lot of people who were maybe stagnating or had a vision for comics, or were like a lot of people where they'd be like, I'm going to do comics someday. And then it's like 10 years later, they had nothing to show. A lot of stuff like that. The appeal was like, you kind of get results if you commit to anything for like 100 days, like 30 minutes a day. And it also helps you see time that you didn't have. Like, everybody's got the excuse of not having time. And like Frank always says, stop making excuses, make comics. It's a really good, it was just a really beneficial thing for a lot of people. I think this might stoke that in some people who maybe took the hundreds challenge, saw some progress, and then maybe since the anthology stopped and the community kind of splintered a little bit, have looked at themselves and they don't have books, they don't have comics, and like, and it's like, well, what has come and stuff? And maybe for people who like, yeah, you have a library or stuff that's built up, maybe you're on a path where it's just this anthology may not be for you because you just don't have time. But if you're one of those people who's like still wants to do comics and stuff like that, and maybe you're caught up on projects, so you're looking for the next project, or you need that thing, like that deadline, that goal, that 100 days type thing that's going to get you back hitting your comic pages again. I think this is really good opportunity, for those people to like re-stoke that fire and kind of like get back into the comics game. I think. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading into that wrong, but I think it's very much. Yeah.
That's exactly why we wanted to do it within the 100 days, to reignite that again, because it kind of felt out like it was a time where people were doing it different times. It was almost yearly. There would be someone doing the challenge, and then it kind of fell off and just like drifted away. And you know what? Let's do it again. And
let's bring the band back together.
That's right. And the Facebook group, the D100s, it's there. Adam is now a mod there. So if you want to join, he will approve. You can post your process. You don't even have to be in this anthology that we're working on. But you can just post your process, and if you want to join the group where we have the anthology, if you just want to check it out and just see what it is, like, go ahead. You can join that. Me and Adam will let you in. Just of course, obvious rules. Don't be a troll. Don't be harassing people, and
don't be me on Gary Hodges' channel this morning, basically.
And
if
don't
you guys
be
want to
like,
see what I'm talking about.
Well, I've got this much done. What do you have? Like, we're working at our own level. And like, I mean, for the anthology, we have a deadline, but like, that doesn't help. So it's just have fun. Jump in, whether it's the challenge, the anthology, or like, say, man.
Yeah. And I've been, I always share my links to live streams on the Hundreds channel on Facebook, and it's a little spammy, but I've always been doing it in hopes that like somebody's going to pick up the mantle and kind of get the Hundreds going again. Because I consider myself at this point doing the 100 days of making comics 365 days of the year. So I don't need to do the challenge. Like that is my life. Like every day of the year I'm working on comics. But
Yeah.
I get a lot of fuel and inspiration from people doing the 100 days, seeing young cartoonists kind of unlock their potential. There's so much inspiration to be had. And it's not just young cartoonists. There's a lot of heavy hitters that were in the hundreds, you know, and it was always fun to see what everybody's working on. It's kind of like what I like about the Artcasters community is, you know, you get a lot of inspiration. At least I get a lot of inspiration just seeing everybody kind of making progress. Seeing Jim go on, you know, Gary's channel this morning and share what he's, you know, the inevitable next, you know, cartoon that he's going to make. That gives me fuel for like the crazy project I'm in the middle of, you know. And that was something the hundreds always was just incredible at, and it would be really fun to see that. It would be fun to see that happen again, you know. So I'm glad. Like again, you know, worst case scenario is it fails, and that's better than nothing. Like failure is better than nothing. And so again, I'm not saying it will fail. I think you guys are going to succeed, but my point is even the worst case scenario in this is better than just stagnant, like slow death of a community, you know? So I think it's really, I don't know. I think it's really admirable and exciting to see you guys doing that. And again, Frank is the guy to run an anthology. I've felt that way for years. Because again, Frank is a community builder. You know, we've had him on Artcasters to talk about building community, and yeah. So,
yeah. And having said that, if you want to have me and Adam, whenever you guys have an open schedule, we can talk about rebuilding the community with a new anthology.
yeah, for sure, for sure. Jim said it's a really interesting time right now. Some of us are starting brand new projects and others are winding down long-term projects. Yeah, we're all heading in completely new directions, you know. I feel like there's like a bunch of new directions that we're all taking on, like very heavily taking on new directions. And I feel like
I think
yeah.
I'm the Harry Styles of this art new direction group.
That's true. You are a very hairy new direction. That's what I would say about
I
that.
have one direction that I'm heading.
You guys, I swear I'm not. I have matured in my life at some point from bad jokes. I don't know where that is, but I've headed somewhere. I've definitely headed in a newer direction. So yeah, I don't know. I think the timing's good, and I think it'll be fun to see who gets on board. Like, can you share anybody who's on board currently? I mean, obviously you and Adam.
Yes, Adam and myself, Philip Chandler.
Nice.
Landon Huber. He's doing a pinup.
Pinup. Nice.
There's people that express interest that they might do something if they have some, if they can spare some time, because a lot of people have projects going on. So I won't mention them, but I know CB Smallwood has expressed interest, and he did start some pages. But he said he's like, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to make the deadline, which tells me he has I think he has also his own project. So, but he is starting something. So yeah, that would be great to see him in there. Since I was in his last anthology that he did. Let's see. We do have someone relatively new. He's been on Adam's channel. He's a youngster, a young fella. He is 15 years old, but he has a lot of comic knowledge and like old school comic knowledge, Malibu comics. He knows some of those people. So he's expressed interest in being. I think he's working on a story. So.
Nice. I think I can't remember his name, but I think I've seen him on Adam's stream. He's got a very dry sense of humor. Am I?
Yes.
Yeah.
And he
Pretty
was
inspiring
on
kid too.
on my
Way
channel.
more driven than I was at 15.
Yes, Vic Due. So and
Good point, Gary. He said, "Did you just call Malibu Comics old school? Like I'm 1,000 years old?" Yes, Gary. We're very old. Like we're to the point where like a phone that isn't mobile is like unthinkable. That is the way we have aged out. We are now
I grew up
retro,
with
Gary. We're
rotary
retro.
phones, and there's people that think that's old school. So
Wait, sorry. Say that again, Frank. I think I was accidentally talking over you. I missed that.
I grew up with rotary phones, and there's people that think that's old school.
I have dogs doing a cacophony of barking, so I'm just going to mute myself. Frank, feel free to continue.
Yeah, so what I was saying is like rotary phones are now considered old school, and I grew up with them. So, and the big phones with the antenna, the cordless phones, that was our cell phone at the time.
Yeah, I had a young designer on my team look at me mystified when I was explaining, because people have gotten so used to the kind of iMac type of computer where the screen is part of the computer. They didn't know what a computer tower was. Like,
oh, okay, yeah.
They didn't know what a tower was. Like, they were like, wait, so the computer is not the screen? And I was like, I can't even comprehend not knowing that. Like, because we're not even that in the future. Like, all computers do not have a screen attached to them, like, as part of it. Like, you still can buy a screen or a tower separately, but I guess that's becoming less and less commonplace to the point where even that seemed like a very like, wow, that's weird, man. The old days were strange when a screen and a computer were separate. It's very strange. It's interesting.
Yeah,
So,
even
welcome
with
to the old men complaining about kids these days and what is considered retro stream. I'm Joshua Kemble, and this is Frank Salazar, who's joining me. How's it going?
it's going good. Even when CDs were coming out, I was like, CDs?
Yeah, CD Smallwood.
That's CD Smallwood, a creator of Wildcat, of the Wildcat Anthology. Like, so like CDs, that's not gonna catch on. It's not gonna replace my cassette.
Yeah.
And now
And then
CDs
even
are
when
like,
phones, when phones started kind of like having MP3s, it's like, yeah, but my iPad or my iPod is like totally fine. Like nobody's gonna replace this amazing, iPod.
yeah. So, yeah.
So Frank, how like what are you working on currently? Are you working on your dragon story?
I will be. I was doing some things today, so I wasn't able to. I do a lot of art, and I just finished those. So right now I'm just coloring a panel for a separate for a little Captain Goggles Masculine story that I wanted to do.
Awesome.
It might not be in color, but I just want to see how it looks like. But I'm gonna be working on probably page 3 of the dragon story, A Dragon's Tale. That's what I'm calling that one. And and I think I have the first 2 pages up on up on the 100 Facebook and the Ultimate Tellus Facebook, and I think they are on Instagram.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll be working on the page.
I'm kind of excited to see that come together.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. I am a little nervous because I'm gonna be. And I'm sure maybe some other people will like want to help out. But like for now, I think it's gonna be me doing like organizing the crowdfunder.
Yeah.
Um,
And the
I'm sure
wrangling.
Adam will. I'm sure Adam will help out, but like right now it's uh I figure like not worry about it, but but yeah, it's gonna be a little different because I've never done that, and I thought it would be on something uh mine and not a group thing. So now like I have to like I'm thinking about the creators involved, and I want to be fair. And one of the things I do want to do, and some people have kind of like they're not sure how they feel about it, but like I don't want this to be like okay, the anthology comes out, and if you didn't get it, too bad. Like I want to have it later after the crowdfunder is over, after people have gotten their books and creators have gone, because I do want creators to have copies of books, but I also want to see how successful the crowdfunder is. That maybe we're able to actually pay the creators something, even if it's not like a professional wage. It's just like here's we have something left over. Here's a little bit of something. Here's maybe like $40 for each creator, plus you get your books. But we want to be able, and that's just something we're just thinking. But we want to be able to have the story available. So after all that, putting up on a print on demand like Amazon or Lulu, where like, hey, you weren't able to get in on it, you can still head on over and buy it.
Yeah.
And get a copy. And if creators say, I want to buy more of my books, oh, well, go ahead, it's right there. You can buy all your books, or you're like, hey Frank, can you buy the books? Because I think with Amazon, the person that sets it up will get a discount. So like that way, like okay, you can get this discount. But that's something we're thinking about, and I do want to put it up there, like where it'll be in print. Yeah, it'll be. That was like one of my things in the anthologies that I was in. We had our falling out, and the 3 books that I was in are no longer in print because because of me. So
That's very
so I don't want
strange
that to
to
happen.
take an entire book out of circulation just to kind of stick it to somebody. I don't know. Like I've never seen that happen. I've been in anthologies ranging from like, kind of guerrilla marketed ones like the hundreds to like,
Mhm.
I Saw You Missed Connections, which came out in like Random House, so it's like I've been in like the gamut of anthologies from like big publisher anthologies with like huge name cartoonists, and then ones that are more like community related with like smaller size cartoonists. And I've never heard of that happening except in this case with you, Frank, and all because they couldn't tolerate working with a handsome artist. I find that really strange. Get some security in your own handsomeness as an artist is all I'm saying, out there. Don't cancel anthologies just because of, Frank's slow motion hair, conversations, so what's weird is I was going to do this stream until I finished this panel, and then do possibly like a live game of Risk. But what I'm starting to realize is, and this is something I forget sometimes as an artist, is that I am a human being who needs to eat. Like that's actually something I should probably do since I haven't done lunch yet. And so I
Oh,
think,
yeah.
yeah, I think eating lunch might be, I don't know. I don't know if this is like a pro tip or anything, but I kind of think that might be a basic of suggestions for artists and their workflow is eating food, especially lunch and dinner might not be a bad advice. Pro tip, guys, for artists out there: eating lunch and dinner may not be a bad strategy to being productive in your work. I don't know, Frank. Do you agree? Do you disagree?
I very much agree. You gotta have some food.
Yeah. Oh, and then Gary brought up, Gary's relating to your struggle here. The struggle is real. He says, Josh, I know from personal experience that some people simply can't handle too much handsomeness. It's an unfair world. It really is. As a handsome artist, I have to really relate to that. It's a hard world being handsome. It really is. It's a struggle. The struggle is real, you guys. Okay, well, so I'm gonna wrap this stream.
It's a gift and a curse.
Yes. But if you're curious to kind of follow the exploits of a handsome artist, Frank, where can people check out your stuff? And also maybe let them know how to reach out to you. Like, what's the best way to reach out to you if they want to be a part of this anthology? Especially, again, if you're out there, you're finding like maybe your comics are stagnant, like you have the skills, the chops, the interest in comics, but you just haven't made anything in a while, or you need a goal, or you need to make a story. And you want to be a part of this thing. Maybe that can be the thing that lights the fire for you to make the next piece. Frank, who do they reach out to? How do they reach out to them? And also, how do they follow the exploits of a handsome artist?
Well, you can find me on Salazar Art Nation on YouTube and Salazar Art Nation on Instagram, and also on Facebook. I think you just look up Frank Salazar. You should find me. And those last two places where you can contact me. You can reach out to me on Instagram. Just if you do, leave a comment in one of the posts and let me know. Hey Frank, I sent you a message and I'll go look at it. Or send me something on Facebook. We have the Ultimate Tales Anthology Facebook group, so you can join that. And you'll get in contact with myself and Adam, and you can just reach out to both of us, one of us, either of us, and we'll gladly talk to you. And if you want to have a conversation, we'll gladly do that. And just but yeah, that's how you can get a hold of me, and check out my stuff. Also, the Truckle Creative Cast. We're gonna start streaming. It might just be me for a while. Anna is like super busy, and she's got other stuff going on. So it might just be myself. But reaching out to artists. So if you either have a project, have a topic, want to shoot the breeze, have some conversations about art, creativity, or maybe just your fandom, reach out to me, and maybe we can see on having you on as a guest. I do ask that you be at least over 15, and not just want to have I just want to be on a show. So, I want to have some good conversations. So yeah, that's how you can find me and reach out to me.
I like it. And Jim brings up a really good point, because I think as you're searching for this, you want to make sure you aren't kind of in Jim's spot here. But he said, I have the handsome filter on my phone, and your guys' faces just keep getting blurred out because it can't handle it. Yeah. So make sure, when you're doing these steps that Frank just described, make sure your handsome filter is off, so that you can your phone and or whatever device you're viewing, especially video, right? Make sure it's off so that you can actually view Frank's work, as well as my channel. It might be strange to just be seeing this blurry thing. Like right now, you're seeing two kind of blurry blobs talk to each other if you have your handsome filter on.
Yeah. So we're not in the witness protection program. We're just too handsome for your phone.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. So anyhow, guys, thanks for hanging out. I think that Corey is still streaming, so I will say if you're still working on art and stuff, go check out Corey's channel. I also think Philip Chandler might be streaming as well, so bounce to either Philip or Corey's channel. And before you do, also make sure you've subscribed and you've hit that bell so you get notifications when I'm about to go on, because I will probably after lunch come back on, finish this panel and then possibly stream a battle of Risk where I will try to dominate and take over the entire world. All right, guys, have a good day. Frank, thanks for hopping on. And again, really excited about the anthology. I think it's really cool. I think everybody is pretty excited about it. I know Jeff Lafferty is really excited about it. Also, I should give a shout out to Jeff Lafferty. He did a stream a couple weeks ago, and he hasn't done a stream in a long time. And I really encourage you guys go to his channel and really like check out that stream. He does talk about this anthology, but also we want to encourage Jeff to get back to streaming because we all love Jeff. And honestly, the art he's doing right now is kind of like on a different level. I mean, it always is good with Jeff, but this book he's working on, I'm so excited. Yeah. That book would totally disappear if you had your handsome filter on. It's the art is so like awesome. It won't even appear on your screen if you have that on. All right, guys, have a good Saturday, and I'll see you later, probably in a couple hours or so. All right, see ya. Thanks.
Stay handsome.
Stay handsome.